विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ श्रोत्रस्य श्रोत्रं मनसो मनोयते वाचोह वाचं सौ प्राणस्य प्राणः चक्षुषश्चक्षुः अतिमुच्यधीराः प्रेत्यास्माल्लोकादमृता भवन्ति। So the Shruti purpose, the teacher is replying, teacher is giving an answer of the question of the student, that what is the mind of the mind, what is the eye of the eye, etc. Keneshitam patadi preshitam manaha kena prana prathamah praiti yuktaha. So in whose presence basically the mind as though prompted does its own chores of activity. So all varieties of the activities it performs on whose presence as though prompted. So that's how the mind becomes mind. Mind performs certain activity, means mind becomes mind. And chakshu becomes chakshu. So the chakshu actually performs activity of seeing, etc. That's a job of the eye. And therefore basically it does its own job. Then only we can call it as a chakshu. If it doesn't do any kind of a job, it's just an eyeball. There is no eye otherwise. So when you say I perform certain activity, I could say, then definitely it has got a status of eye either on its own or because of certain presence of something. It does its job, and therefore the one whose presence the eyes perform this kind of a function, I should call it as the eye of the eye. So yesterday I gave you example of electricity, etc. So in presence of electricity, even though there is no kind of a sankalpa or a will on the part of electricity that the air conditioner should do a particular job, refrigerator should do a particular job, they don't have that kind of a will. But so that's how we have translated, if you remember, Kena Ishitam. Ishitam means as though willed by God. But then we said, no, there is no will involved. Why there is no will involved on the part of that subject? Because if when to do the job of a willing, it requires a mind. So then if it requires a mind, then that mind is prompted by what? So it becomes a anavastha. Anavastha means infinite regression. This subject is one, the conscious being is one, in whose presence all the limbs of the varieties of the organs perform their own functions. So they get a status, particular status. Eye gets a status of I-ness, and the ear gets a status of earness. That's how we said in a secondary sense, of course, that well, the conscious being is the eye of the eye, etc., etc. And so, purposely, this has been told by the teacher while answering. So, don't search for that deva, for that this conscious being, the effulgent being. It is you. Basically, in your presence, everything functions. Because other than you is object. And if it is object of if it is object, it is inert. And therefore, definitely, and if it is, then I also may be inert. No, but the body and the senses and everything are conscious. So if they are proved as a inert, then who provides them sentiency? Who provides them a consciousness? Well, then definitely you must be the consciousness which is distinct from that object. We call subject. And that subject means I must be a conscious entity. And well, it's your own experience that you are a conscious being. You don't never say I am an inert being. To say I am an inert being, you require to be a conscious being. And therefore, basically, I am the one who is conscious being, self-revealing. Understand, not proved by anything. I am a conscious being, it doesn't require a proof from any means of knowledge available to you. Your eyes do not prove that you are a conscious being. Your ears do not prove that you are a conscious being. Even your mind does not prove you are a conscious being. Since you are a conscious being, well, your mind thinks. So that's how, one philosopher started with the philosophy, thinking that, well, if since I think, therefore I am. Then he found out, that French person, later he found out that Descartes or something, I forgot the name, Descartes. And he found out, well, yes, that it's not correct. Since I think, I am. That's not correct. And well, I am, therefore I think. Because in absence of thinking also you exist. Well, in absence of thinking you exist. And therefore definitely you are independent. So therefore even somebody argued with me this thing. Because I am thinking, therefore I am. Well, it's not. Swami, but if I don't think, how will I prove my existence? To say that I don't think, you are required. And therefore, basically, so don't say that. Don't say that. Because consciousness even proves the absence of thought. And therefore, to prove the consciousness, you don't require any other thing. You are self-revealing. Every other thing requires you. Basically, you are self-revealing. Anyway, so, and Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manoyat, Vachoha Vacham, Pranasya Pranaha, Chakshusha Chakshu, etc. has been told. And one single entity has been defined as the ear of the ear and eye of the eye and breath of the breath. Then how one thing is called like this? Because it is basically independent of it. It is not a eye, it is not a ear, it is not a breath, it is not a speech. It is really different from that. But since all these organs, well, requires an invariable presence of consciousness. Without that, they cannot function. And therefore, in a secondary sense, we call Atma also as ear of the ear, eye of the eye, etc. So, I am never away from any sense organs. Because of my invariable presence in all the sense organs, they are able to function. And well, I revealed, I myself get manifested into all these organs, that is in the subtle body. And therefore, and then I identify with it and says, well, I am a seer, I am a hearer, etc. And I see various objects, I hear different sounds, I know various thoughts taking place in our mind. And because of this presence of consciousness is in all of them. And that is indeed what was asked for by the Shishya, Kena Ishitam. So it is sadharan, it is invariable presence, without which none of them exist. This invariable presence is this consciousness, and therefore in Tattvabodha also we have seen that in any kind of a cognition, in perception, varieties of the perception, well, you are very much present. The sound is, consciousness is. The form is, consciousness is. Touch is, consciousness is. Taste is, consciousness is. Smell is, consciousness is. So in the perception itself, it is invariably present. Well, and therefore, basically, ear of the ear is present in the ear, which is invariably present. And that ear, the organ, well, performs varieties of the function. It is variable. It is variable. It picks up varieties of the sound. And it itself is variable. But the consciousness which is present in the ear, which we call in a secondary sense as a ear, is invariably there. And without which ear cannot function. Ear gets a status of a ear, well, in my presence, in the presence of the subject, that is consciousness. So this is how, and so, so we will remove one doubt that ear of the ear and eye of the eye. So some people think that, well, definitely there must be a, subtler organ, which is present in the organ of hearing and organ of seeing, etc. Some subtler organ may be present, which is called the second ear and second that eye, etc. Well, that is not so. It is neither the eye, Atma, that is subject. Well, eye, which is, that is not the eye, that not the ear, not the mind. But we should not say that much, because there is no ear, there is no eye, and there is no thought either without my presence. So I am invariably present in all this. So there is no distance. What I want to convey is there is no distance between the Vastu, that reality, and any perception, seeing, etc., everything, whatsoever. That is what teacher wants to convey. Wherever the perception is, right there, well, the consciousness is. And all the perception definitely basically is non-separate from this consciousness. So not only the perception, that is, in the knowledge, so in this invariable consciousness, that is I, is, it is present in all the perception. It is all, but also with reference to action also, we can say that it is invariably present in other actions also, talking, walking, eating. In all the actions, without the presence of this consciousness, it will not be possible. So it is any kind of a perception, any action, well, it is all the time present, and present everywhere. So in talking, without talking is there and the consciousness is not there. That's not correct. Even talking is not there, consciousness is. And therefore talking is, consciousness is. And therefore walking is, consciousness is. Walking is not, consciousness is. Otherwise there will not be such a concept that there is no walking. So unless you have an experience of no walking, how will you talk about it? So then who experiences it? And therefore consciousness is invariably present in all the actions, in all the perceptions. Sound is, consciousness is. No sound, consciousness is. Smell is, consciousness is. No smell, consciousness is. And therefore basically in perceptions it is invariably present. In all actions it is invariably present. It is present all the time, everywhere. Who? The subject. Present, but present in what? Present in all these actions, and which is done at the level of subtle body, gross body, etc., which is inert, which we have already defined it, and the subject which is distinct from it, this consciousness is invariably present in all the activities. And therefore I can definitely say manaso manaha, shrotrasya shotram, etc. And in this understanding, of course, the subject ahankara also, that I thought, is also swallowed totally. Therefore you won't find. And therefore that is why the question on the part of our listeners right now is very, very valid. Where is the jiva? Where is jiva? Because it is swallowed totally. Because why can you, how can you swallow? But it is not reality. So far as if you don't know this thing, suppose, then for them the jiva is a final reality. And therefore the seer and hearer, etc. is a final reality. And all this actually, not only he is a seer, the subject is seer. The seeing itself is because of the consciousness. So the consciousness is seer is consciousness, seeing is consciousness, and object of seeing also is a consciousness. Everything is consciousness. And therefore in the process, this jiva, the pramada, the knower is swallowed totally. Everything is swallowed. Because Atma is basically everything. And therefore it is invariably present. Without consciousness, nothing can be proved. Without consciousness, no experience can happen. Any experience of presence of something or absence of something Well, if wants to talk about it, a person wants to think about anything, without consciousness, nothing is possible. Not even revelation, not, I'm telling it is no existence is possible. Any existence or non-existence of anything in the creation presupposes the existence of consciousness. And therefore, basically, objects are all variable. That's how we have seen also that inert world is agama paihi, temporary. But consciousness, the subject, well, which is distinct from that, and well, it is invariably present, all the time present. And therefore, kena ishitam, we said we should drop that willing, etc. Well, definitely, in his presence everything happens. I am the one in presence, everything happens. And they are all non-separate from me. Well, I'm going to talk about it. So this vastu, Swamiji used to tell this word as a vastu. Vastu. Vasati asmin iti vastu. Well, everything resides in it. Everything is non-separate from that. Everything is basically, imagined actually through the Maya. Every name and form which is non-separate from that vastu. Well, and whose existence, etc., whose revelation is due to this vastu. So the vastu which is behind this mind and senses, and in whose presence the mind is mind and senses are senses, is the answer of the question, kena ishitam. What is that invariable presence? In that presence, everything as though prompted does the varieties of the activities. Well, if the teacher says little differently other than what he said right now, that Atma is the year of the year. If a teacher has introduced, if suppose teacher has introduced the word Atma, Atma is the year of the year, and then Atma is the eye of the eye, Atma is the mind of the mind, etc. That will give a room to, for implying the existence of Atma, different from the senses, and they are different from Atma. Because you say Atma is a one, is the year of the year, means the year as though is distinct from the Atma, eye is distinct from the Atma, mind is distinct from Atma, then this will lead to a wrong understanding about Atma. So therefore, teacher has not introduced any word. Well, it just said you are the very presence in whose presence everything takes place. And therefore, that's how Puja Swamiji is to give a meditation also like that. Seeing takes place in my presence. Thinking takes place in my presence. Walking takes place in my presence. Talking takes place in my presence. So you won't have any scope. You cannot imagine any other thing. So in your presence everything takes place. Means all they are non-separate from you. Any action or perception, whatever it may be. So it is basically you are invariably present in everything. And when they don't take place, when action is suspended, well, you are there. To say that there is no action right now. When perception is suspended, well, you are there to tell that there is no perception right now. There is no seeing, well, there is no hearing, etc., etc. And therefore you are invariably present, all the time present, everywhere present. That's how, and so definitely, so Shrotrasya Shrotram, year of the year, well, I mean, the word Atma, etc. also has not been introduced. What it has been said directly is that what you have asked for is you, the subject, well, in whose presence everything takes place, and therefore they are basically non-separate from you. Well, if any word is used, that Brahman in presence of which, well, year functions, etc., and therefore Brahman is called year of the year. You may perhaps think that year and Brahman, they are two separate entities. Well, that is not correct, and therefore Shrotrasya Shrotram also means the year of the year is self-revealing. It makes all other sense organs what they are, and without whose presence there would be no senses at all. There would not be any sense. There would not be any existence of sense in absence of that. And therefore, and without the presence of the mind, without whose presence the mind also would not exist. And therefore, basically, they are non-separate from you. That is he wanted to convey through Shrotrasya Shrotram. Shrotrasya Shrotram Tvam. etc. etc. Or Shrotrasya Shrotram is basically I, the subject. So everything is proved as an object of knowledge, and that was proved as an inert, and that has become conscious in the body. I am talking, and then the subject must be the one who is a conscious entity, who provides who from whom this all sense organs, the subtle body and the gross body borrows the consciousness. So we have clear that this is what teacher is giving and replies to the subject. So teacher has not introduced a new word, Atma or Brahman or any other thing. For the purpose of that, only the purpose is, you don't consider that sense organs, mind, etc. are distinct entities from that consciousness. So two facts are revealed here by the manner, of course, in which the teacher has answered, has revealed two facts. First thing is that is, without the presence of the Vastu, the senses cannot perform their cognitive task, seeing, etc. That means it is invariably present in all the variables. They are all variables. Sense organs are variables. Mind is a variable, and sense organ reveal the objects. They are also variable. Everything variable. Only I am invariable presence in everything. So in every cognition, there is the presence of this Vastu, the Chaitanyam, the consciousness, the subject. So teacher need not give any other description for the consciousness, because it is self-revealing. Anything which is self-revealing does not require any description, because it is self-revealing. It reveals itself. Therefore, you need not tell any other thing. So we need not define consciousness, and we cannot define also consciousness as such. So consciousness is only a word, and the meaning of the word is just Tvam or I. And so when I say consciousness, it is actually not seen by me, which is like a pot, etc. And so it is not an object available for me to objectify, but at the same time it is self-revealing. Because if anything becomes an object, we have seen that, of course, anything becomes an object, or you know the meaning of the word. Let's put it this way. You know the meaning of the word by objectifying by objectifying. So without objectification, you cannot know. And therefore consciousness also you would like to objectify. You have heard the word, and to understand the meaning of that word, you try to objectify it, and it is not available. And therefore basically consciousness need not be revealed through the words. Consciousness is just you, and other than everything other than you is object. And therefore this consciousness does not lend on any other thing other than the subject. Every other thing is object. It is inert also, we have proved. So consciousness is not an object available for you to objectify, but at the same time it is self-revealing. And this self-revealing consciousness, which is present in the ear, eye, mind, etc., and so on, making them hear, making them see, making them think, and so on. So Shrotrasya Shrotram, Chakshusha Chakshuhu, Manaso Manaha, etc. It reveals that without this consciousness, without me, without I, the subject, they are incapable of doing any function. That's the first fact revealed by Shrotrasya Shrotram or Manaso Manaha, etc. So they have to be blessed by me, by the conscious entity, the subject, that is me. And that is the first fact. Second fact revealed by this Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc. is the existence aspect. Two things always revealed. That's how we call Atma is Sat and Atma is Chit. If you say consciousness, I, the consciousness, and therefore I am Chit. But then consciousness is invariably present in all. And therefore objects may have existence or not. That's a different thing. But consciousness is all the time present. Therefore consciousness is self-existing. And therefore it is called Sat also. So two facts are revealed by this Shrotrasya Shrotram. One is they are revealed the organ are able to function. Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc. indicates their ear got a status of a ear, and thereby it listens because of consciousness. That is one thing. And the second thing is existent aspect also. A thing it exists because of consciousness, and well, that lends existence to it. Consciousness lends existence to everything. Shrotra, I mean, without consciousness, you cannot say Shrotram is. So, to be honest, when you say ear is, that is indicates Shrotra se Shrotra. Mind is, that mind of course is an organ, internal organ. But is indicates Manaso Manaha, mind of the mind. Chakshusas Chakshuhu. So first Chakshu, that is, which is in the sixth case, is an organ of seeing. But well, when if you say I is, that is indicates Chakshusas Chakshuhu. Because the is means existence. Existence is the nature of the self, and that provides existence to everything. It reveals everything, of course, and thereby they are capable of doing their respective functions. And at the same time, every organ's existence also is proved by basically consciousness. And that's what I am saying. Well, therefore you cannot tell that Chakshu and Atma are separate or distinct entities. Distinct entity means they exist on their own. So they are Satyam. No. Consciousness provides the existence, and therefore whatever provides the existence, well, then the other entity must be borrowing from it, and what borrows the existence from consciousness must be non-separate from the consciousness. Well, pot, borrows existence from the clay, then pot can never be separate from the clay. Or anything, the ring borrows existence from the gold. Well, therefore, ring is non-separate from the gold. The same way, consciousness provides existence to everything, and therefore all the organs, entire subtle body, physical body, and everything. We are not talking about the outer world right now. Well, but everything, borrows existence from the consciousness, and therefore consciousness is self-existent. Everything else has a dependent existence, which we call it as a mithya. And therefore, consciousness is Satyam, and the organs, etc., are Mithya. So, Shrotra se Shrotam means that because of which Shrotra is, Chakshu is, mind is, everything is. Right? And therefore, so at the same time, understand now, the consciousness is not a Shrotram, consciousness is not a Chakshu, consciousness is not a mind, but without consciousness, they are not there. So I am not them, but they are me. So I could say gold is not a ring, but ring is a gold. That's how it is. That Pujya Swami used to tell like this, A is, I think B is A, but A is not B, beggar. If you remember, B means beggar and A means actor. So that is his standard way of saying. Yeah, so B is A, but A is not B. Actor is not the beggar. Anyway. So this is how it is. Because the entire existence of the beggar is dependent upon the actor, the role beggar. Role beggar. So don't think that any other beggar exists because of actor. So he takes a role of a beggar. Then definitely it cannot exist without the actor. So B is A, but A is independent of B. So even it removes the costume of beggar, and still he exists. Anyway, so same way. So so this is the definition of a consciousness. Consciousness itself is not a chakshu, not a shrotram, not a mind, but without consciousness there is no chakshu, no mind, no ear, no speech, etc., etc., no prana. So you can say that way. But Swami, you are not using prana word, etc. You are just talking about shrotra and mana, because I am taking that much part. Then prana se pranaha, vacho vacham, we are taking separately. That's how I am not using much those words, but we can definitely extend these things to in this discussion also. So the existence of Shrotra of course depends upon the same thing upon which the existence of Chakshu also exists. And it is the same thing on which even the existence of the mind is there. So there is one entity in which is invariably present in all, and so this is invariably present in all, and therefore we think there are two things. One is a particular object, and in that something. Don't think that way. This is all a word. We have to make our own understanding right. Because the clay is present in pot. Means what? So there is nothing other than clay. But it is a way of saying. So don't think that, so same way consciousness is present in the chakshu. Consciousness is present in the eye and in the ear, in the mind. No, because basically their existence is totally dependent upon me, and therefore they are just mithya. They are maya kalpita deshakala kalana vaichitra chitri kridam. Maya kalpitam. And therefore these names and forms, well, basically they are non-separate from the consciousness. And well, consciousness is not that. We can understand that. So what is invariably present? That is Satyam, that is I, consciousness. And the differences in the form of this Shrotra, etc., all this, or Manaha, they are all apparent. They are mithya. So there is no distance between Shrotram and the I, the consciousness, or Atma. That is what it wants to convey. Shrotrasya, Shrotram, etc. It conveys. So these many things are there in this. Shrotrasya, Shrotram, Manaso, Manaha. Any one thing, and you can make the varieties of the points. This all thing is conveyed. But Swamiji, in essence, what? In essence is this, that Shrotrasya Shrotam indicates that basically I am the one who, because of whom, they are capable of doing their own functions as though prompted. And I am the one who provides even existence to them. And therefore, basically, Shrotrasya Shrotam means without me, the Shrotram that is in the first case, that is me, well, without me, they don't exist. So, clay is a part of the pot. So, because the very partness is possible because of the clay. And therefore, I can tell. We don't tell, that's another thing. But I can tell. Gatasya gataha mrud. And actually, I have to use word gataha. And because as such, mrud is basically a feminine noun, but I have to use it. Anyway, gatasya gataha. So, clay is the one because of whom because of whom the pot is pot. Otherwise, where is pot to begin with? So anyway, so they are revealed all this. All the organs of action and sense organs are revealed by the consciousness, and well, their existence also is by the consciousness. And therefore, I am not them; they are me. They are all non-separate from me. And that is, they are mithya, I am satyam. Always mithya is non-separate from the satyam. This is the reality of the mithya. So that it is always non-separate from satyam. So this whole thing is revealed by, the subject or the nature of Atma is revealed by this ingenious method of teaching. And we have discussed also why in this manner it has been revealed. And so, what is revealed is self-revealing Atma, which is self-existent, because the existence of me is proved by me. Existence of me is proved by me. Existence of I is proved by me. And existence of me is proved by me. Then what is self-existent? What is self-existent? I am self-existent. The revelation of I, etc., they are able to do that function. Well, is revealed by me, consciousness. And I am revealed by myself. And therefore, basically, I am self-revealing, self-existent. And all other things are need, basically, consciousness in order to reveal, in order to prove their existence. And therefore, they are all dependent, that is mithya. What is self-existent and self-revealing is satyam, that is the subject. And what is not self-revealing, or what is not self-existent, but they have a borrowed existence, they have borrowed revelation, is mithya. And they are always non-separate from me. And therefore, I am pervading everything. I am present, invariably present in all them, in these all variable organs. So, and this is, what is that self-existent, self-revealing is I, the subject. So the meaning of the word, tvam, in Tattvamasi, if you want to say, is unfolded, tvam is unfolded in this mantra. So tvam means you. So when teacher says you have to take it as a I. You cannot tell to the teacher that you. So when teacher says you are self-revealing, you should say I am self-revealing. Then only he will be happy. If you also say that you are self-revealing, means you have not understood anything. Therefore, basically, so this entire Upanishad, basically, it doesn't talk about Ishvara at all. At the end, of course, something little bit will come. It just talks about this Tvampada. That's how we have selected this. It's Tvampada Pradhana Upanishad. So, Pratyagatma Siddhi, basically. Who is this Pratyagatma? Which is the really meaning of word Tvam in Tattvamasi, etc. Pratyagatma means inner self. That is the I, the consciousness. And well, there is a verse in a Dakshinamurti Stotram unfolding this Pratyagatma as a consciousness through the analogy of beams of light. And well, you know the verse, Nana Chidra Gatodara Sthitamaha Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasya tu Chakshuradi Karana Dvara Bahispandate Janamiti Tameva Bhantam Anubhati Manubhati Janamitteva. I forgot, but anyway, so that's third line is like that. But for us, the first two lines are very important. Nana Chidra Gatodara Sthitamaha Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasya tu Chakshuradi Karana Dvara Bahihi Spandate. So the analogy is like that there is a pot with 5 holes and is kept in a dark room with a bright lamp burning inside the pot. So one can see that 5 beams, right? One can see the 5 beams of the light emanating from these 5 holes. And so even though the beams are 5 in number and they light up the respective objects come in their way, say the light inside the pot basically and behind these 5 beams of light is only one, right? Actually the light is one which comes out in 5 beams. So similarly each of the 5 sense organs basically light up their respective objects, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. And well, but behind all of them actually there is one consciousness. The consciousness behind the mind, behind any sense organ is one and the same. So there is nothing other than or behind consciousness. There is nothing other than behind consciousness. There is just a consciousness which is invariably present in all the organs of action, organs of perception, that is sense organs, and because of that they light up respective objects. Eyes reveal forms and colors and ears reveal words, sounds, etc. like that. So that consciousness is the Dakshinamurti, that is I, the Atma. So meaning of the word I can can fall only in consciousness. It cannot be placed any elsewhere. That's for sure. So when I see, I am the seer, and when I hear, I am hearer. So it looks as though that I is placed in the I. Because you say I see. I am a seer. So definitely I is placed in the I. I am a hearer. So I is placed in the organ of hearing. But it looks like that I is placed in the organs, because the consciousness is very much present in the eyes and ears and everything, and therefore we say like that even the whole physical body, which I call it as I, is a conscious entity with one sense organ which is present everywhere, inside, outside, and that is touch. So organ of touch, the sense of touch, that is present all over the physical body. And therefore, just as eyes there in the eyes also, consciousness is there in eyes, consciousness is there in ears, same way consciousness is there in sense of touch also. And therefore, and that sense of touch is all pervading, entire body, outside and inside also. Inside also that sense of touch is there. That's how you are feeling hot and cold and everything. Swamiji, I have a burning sensation inside. And therefore, whenever I take something, Swamiji, ice cream and all, I feel so cool inside, so cool. So that sense of touch is everywhere, even in the mouth also. Everywhere sense of touch is there. And therefore, like other sense organs, even in sense of touch, it is present. And therefore, your eye is basically present like in eye, ears, same way that eye is present in sense of touch also, which is pervading entire body. So that's how you even call the body as also I. So consciousness is present in physical body. It is possible to place I in the body, just as I is placed in eyes and ears, etc. So one can even take a thought also as I. We are taking also. So one is restless when the mind is restless. You have a thought, particular thought, which which is very, very disturbing thought, let's say. So you say I am disturbed, etc. This I is placed in mind because consciousness is present in every form of thought. Any thought arises out of consciousness. Any thought arises in consciousness and resolves also into consciousness. That is how it is. Everything arises from consciousness by thought. Everything arises from consciousness and merges into consciousness. What is this I? Well, the meaning should necessarily resolve in consciousness. Well, we know this. So I is without attributes. I is without form. So that is formless, simple consciousness. I am like this. This is the subject, which is, we all derive through this, that it is basically without attributes. Because if attributes are there in organs, definitely. Attributes are there in actions. Attributes are there in perception. Attributes are there in organs. Attributes are there in physical body. Attributes are there in mind. Everywhere attributes are there. And without you, the consciousness, they could not exist. But you are basically independent of them. They are inert. They are objects of your knowledge. You are the subject, distinct from it. You lend consciousness to them. That is how they are able to function. You lend existence to them. That is how they exist. They don't have independent existence. So you pervade everywhere. And therefore, basically, sometimes you say, I am a seer, because the consciousness is present in the eye, ears, etc. And so basically, you don't have any form. Body has a form. Subtle body also is some kind of a form. Form is here. Don't try to think some round and square or something, any kind. But it is a limited entity. That way I am saying. Basically, you are formless. Pervades everything. If you pervade everything, you must be not having a particular form. Otherwise, you cannot pervade everything. Anything which has its own form cannot pervade all forms. It can pervade only that form. And therefore, basically, so, like our even space. Space can be in any form. Any kind of a form is there, well, it can enter into. Even air also, to an extent. Air and even to an extent, even water also. Water, wherever you, in any container you put, you take that shape of that container. So anyway, but this is much subtler than that, and therefore consciousness is one which is formless, present everywhere. It's a simple consciousness, no attributes. So this is what the student wanted to know. Keneshitam preshitam iva manaha patati. Manaha svavishayam prati gacchati. Bhashyakara said, manaha svavishayam prati gacchati. So mind goes towards its own sphere of activity. That vastu, as though it is impeller, as though. Because the things are not impelled by, things are not prompted by. Actually, any organ is not prompted by anybody. And therefore, this vastu also is, the Atma also is really not the impeller, but as though impeller. So, and that vastu is Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha, etc., etc. That is Atma. So, we have covered only a part of the mantra. Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha. That's all we have completed. And then, Vachoha Vacham, third thing now. It is the speech of the speech. Here, Vak should be taken only as a, we have to take, Vak means here the Shabda. And when you, word is there, definitely the meaning also will come into that. Both are basically non-separate. When you utter a word, and then meaning of the word automatically appears to you. And so that is how Vagartha viva sampraktau, Vagartha pratipattaye, Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. That's how in Raghuvamsha Kalidasa says this. Vagartha viva sampruktav. Vagartha pratipattaye. Vak, artha, sampruktav. So they are inseparable. Vak means the word, artha means the meaning, Vagartha viva sampruktav. As though these two. Same way Parvati, Parameshwara also, Shiva and Shakti are basically non-separate. But anyway, so that is a Mangalacharam he does in Raghuvamsha. What I am saying is, when Vacho Vacham, if you translate the word Vacha as a word, you have to pull the meaning also in that. And therefore, and here one more thing, Vachoha Vacham, it is told. It's a Vedic usage. Actually, it's a Dvitiya Vibhakti. Vacham. Vak, Vacho, Vachaha, Vacham, Vacho, Vachaha. These are the forms. And therefore, Vacham is a second case actually. But we have used the first case. You know, Shrotrasya Shrotram, I have told you also. Shrotrasya indicates sixth case. And Shrotram is the first case. Chakshushash Chakshuhu. Chakshushaha is the sixth case. Then Chakshu is the first case. So everywhere, Pranasya Pranaha, Manaso Manaha, everywhere first case. Then Vachoha Vacham, it should be this Vachaha, of course, sixth case is another thing. But Vachoha Vacham, that Vacham should not be in the second case. It should be in the first case. But it is a Vedic license. Well, Upanishad, you cannot Upanishad does not go by your grammatical rules. Therefore, basically, so we have to take it as a Vedic usage. They call it Chandasam. Anyway, so Veda is called Chandaha, etc. Well, it's anyway, there is a meaning there, why they call Chandaha, but I don't want to go into that. So word and its cognition, word and its meaning we have to take. And so word pot definitely reveals an object called pot, which is the meaning or the cognition. So when the word is heard, there is a recognition of the meaning. So Vachoha Vacham refers that because of which the word is heard and cognized, both. So Vachaha means, what is heard and what is cognized is due to what? It's due to this invariable presence, that is consciousness. Because of that, a word is heard and word is cognized or recognized, whatever. So, and if Atma is basically not a word, Atma is not a cognition, but Atma is the one because of which the word is heard and the meaning of it also is recognized. So this is how we have to say. Like Chakshushash Chakshu we have seen, and Shrotrasya Shrotram, the same way here also it has been told. So if Atma is basically a cognition, then Atma will be gone when the cognition goes. And the word uttered, then the cognition occurs. But then the cognition also goes, word also goes together. Then definitely if Atma is a cognition, then definitely if cognition goes, Atma also goes. But that is not true. It is invariably present in every word, and in the pronunciation of the word, in the cognition of every word, in revealing an object through that word. Well, Atma is invariably present. That is how you have to think. This is how you have to meditate, really speaking. This is what you are. Vachoha Vacham is you. Shrotrasya Shrotram is you. Chakshusha Chakshu is you, etc. And Vachoha Vacham. See, the word ha, actually it's a particle. Ha, vai, u, this kind of things you have found, right? All this indicates, all these particles are used for emphasis. So ha means indeed, u means indeed, vai means indeed. So this is how we have to think. Means this Atma is really Atma is the one because of which there is a pronunciation of word and there is a cognition of word, or Atma is the one who reveals an object through a word. So Atma is present basically in revealing an object through the word. So this is how Vak stands for all this. And Vachoha Vacham indicates this. I mean, this is the meaning of that. And Vak stands for all organ of action, because it is just taken as one member. We call it as a Upalakshana. Upalakshana means basically it's a representative of the entire group of sense organs. No, group of organs of action. Vak. So you know what are the organs of action, you know now, because you have learned Tattva Bodha. So basically this is other organs of action are also there. So you can add that because of which, well, the feet are feet, that because of which the hands are hands, and that because of which the speech is the speech, etc., etc., which sustains all of them, which reveals all of them, everything, which definitely because of which all organs of action performs their various activities, and therefore that's what we have seen also. In perception and in action, it is all the time present, because of which there is a possibility of talking, there is a possibility of walking, there is possibility of going, etc. There is a possibility of sitting, any action. It is invariably present and provides an existence to the organ of action, and because of which, of course, an organ of action does its own activity, its own sphere of activity. So, we sustain all of them, giving reality to all of them is me. Yeah. So, this is a glory, sir. This is your glory. You provide existence to everything. Basically, you provide existence means what, you know? You are owner of it. In really sense, owner word applies which owns. And you are the one who owns everything. You are the owner of entire creation. We are not talking right now. Therefore, in Shiva Puranam, when the description of the Shiva was given, of course, I also have not read Shiva Puranam, but that verses appeared in, quoted by Vidyaranya in chapter 8 of Panchadashi. And there he talked about Shiva like this. The Shiva which is you is nothing but the owner of the entire creation. And therefore, well, the real owner is one who even provide existence to that. And therefore, basically, I am the one who, the self-existent Atma, self-revealing, self-shining, well, provides existence. And because of me, all this have a borrowed existence. They are mithya, they are non-separate from me, and they, as though prompted by me, performs that varieties of the activities. This is meditation. This is Nididhyasanam. Anyway, so here both the things are revealed, right? Existence and cognition. Sat and Chit. Everything, all cognition means consciousness basically. Here, let us drop that word. If you have written, don't write cognition because it will create another problem. Sat means the existence is provided by you, and Chit means the consciousness also are revealed here. Generally, Pujya Swamiji does is sometime word cognition, then he drops the word cognition and puts the word consciousness. That is one and the same thing. But in case if we have a confusion, we can drop that thing. So, pranasya pranaha. See now, again, who has come. Right? Earlier it was vachoha vacham. Ha means indeed. Now, who? Indeed. Again. So, as though, Upanishad is emphasizing, don't think of any other thing other than you, who really provides existence to everything, and because of whom all organs are prompted and do their own chores of activity. That one is you only. Sau devaha. Sau pranasya prana. He is indeed the prana of the prana. So he is indeed the prana of the prana means what? What we have already described to you, that who is the mind of the mind and who is ear of the ear and who is eye of the eye, the same entity, that is the subject, that is you, is the consciousness, is the pranasya prana, is the one, well, is the pranasya prana, means is the breath of the breath. We will see the meaning, but the Upanishad changes the gender very swiftly. Pranasya pranaha. Now pranaha means what? It's a masculine word. Earlier it was vachoha vacham, that we have said vachoha vak you have to say, but that vak is a feminine word. And shrotrasya shrotram, it's a neuter word. So one entity is represented in a neuter gender by shrotram, that same entity is represented as a vak in the feminine gender, and the same entity is told as a prana, that is in masculine gender. Therefore that entity must be without any gender, because all the three genders are basically told. Generally what happens is, when anything which you cannot classify as a masculine or feminine, we generally put in neuter. And that's how Panini has described. Samanya napumsakam. Panini has also told. Samanya napumsakam. In general. Samanya means in general. Well, you can, if you are very confused and you cannot classify a word into masculine or feminine, put in gender, in neutral gender. But here, Neuter also, what is in the neuter gender? The same entity is represented in a feminine gender is entity represented in a masculine gender, and therefore basically I am free from any gender. So let me not have any gender complex. So any complex born of gender, because that's another problem. And that is how the Atman word is there. It's a substantive Atman. It's a nakarantah pullinga, Atman shabdah, and the prathama vibhakti ekvachanam Atma. Atma, Atmano, Atmanah, Atmanam, Atmano, Atmanah. These are the forms. And therefore we write Atma shabda, but basic substantive is an Atman. And that Atman word is pullinga. And in neuter, you know, Brahman, right? In neuter we have a Brahman word. That's a nakarantah napumsak linga shabdah. Brahman shabdah. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani, Ityadi, Rupani. So these are the forms. So the Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam is Brahma, neuter gender. And in feminine also, Chitihi. And that is how in Lalita Sahasranama, Chitis Tatpada Lakshartha, Chidekara Sarupini, Chitihi Tatpada Lakshartha. This Chitihi, consciousness, is Tatpada Lakshartha. It is Lakshartha. It is the implied meaning of the word Tat. And therefore Chitihi is in feminine gender. For that the synonymous word in masculine is Atma, and for that in neuter gender we have word Brahman, and therefore Parmeshwara is basically free from any gender, and therefore he can take any shape. That's how in all the names and forms in the world, we say Parmeshwara alone manifests in all the forms, and that form may be having any gender, but we find the forms in all the gender. And all the forms are the form of basically womb, Parmeshwara. So if Parmeshwara can take any form of any gender, means he must be free from any gender. So Parmeshwara is basically free from any gender. But I don't bring Parmeshwara. You, sir, you basically are free from any gender. Oh Swamiji, I don't want the birth of woman in next life. I have so much suffering and this and that. And you are free from any gender. Don't worry. Chitihi, you are Chitihi, you are Brahman, you are Atma. So this change of gender they don't consult you. You may really feel embarrassed, but they don't consult you. Means it is Upanishad does not even oblige to indicate you that I have changed the gender. That shows that I have to come out of this gender orientation, really speaking. They will not tell you. They will rampantly use. Sometime Atma, sometime Brahman, sometime Ishvara, sometime Chitihi. They will, and Chit also is there. There is another word, Chit, Satchidananda. Chit is a neuter word. Anyway, so this change of gender is deliberately done all the time in order to remove gender orientation with regard to you, the real you, the consciousness, simply consciousness. You are just consciousness, nothing else. No attributes, no forms, nothing. You are free from all. Everything which has form is basically your form, because you provide existence to them. Everything is revealed because you are self-revealing and you reveal everything. You are self-revealing, you reveal yourself and you reveal everything else. And that is what you are. And therefore all forms are your forms. The form may be of has a gender. Maybe masculine or feminine or neuter, but you are free from any gender. So the human mind, which is highly entrenched in gender, has to first, get past this orientation of gender. So if the self generally is neither male or female, it should not be construed even as a neuter. The self is free from all the three genders. And therefore we have Shrotram. What is Shrotram? Shrotrasya Shrotram, that Prathama Vibhakti. What is Shrotram is indicated by Sau, the same one, is Pranaha, indicated by masculine gender. And Vachoha Vacham, that indeed is Vak, that is in the feminine gender. So all these things are discussed. So Shastra quietly changed the gender. It started with Yat also. Yeah, yat is also, that sarvanama is used. If you see, shrotrasya shrotram, manaso manoyat, that which is the mind of the mind, and ear of the ear. That yat indicates, it's a sarvanama, it's a pronoun used for this Brahman or for the Atma, consciousness. And there they have used a neuter gender. But then now it is said sau prana, pranasya pranaha. What is used for the pronoun which is used for Atma, yat, is in neuter gender, and for that here they have used a masculine gender, saha. Saha is basically from the word tat, you know very well, tat pronoun in pullingam, in masculine, that kind of forms are there. Saha, etc. Saha taute, tam tautan, etc. forms are there. So saha, prathama vibhakti ekvachan is saha. So tat pulling, that word which is sarvanama, and the pulling prathama vibhakti ekvachan is saha. So very quietly, sa pranaha, yat manaha, sa pranaha. That which is mind, means the mind of the mind, that is the one which is the breath of the breath. And therefore yat and saha indicates different gender, because basically it refers to the same entity which is free from the gender. So same vastu alone is pranasya pranaha, and saha indicates that thing. Prana means which makes the body alive and which sustains the body, while pranasya pranaha is that vastu on which prana itself is dependent for its existence and sustenance. The word prana covers the other manifestation also, like pranaha, apanaha, vyanaha, udanaha, samana, etc. So all this you have to consider. Prana has been told, Swamiji. So other panchavritti are there, and therefore only prana is told. So apana, etc. is not atma. No. As we have also discussed, mukhya prana. I hope you know this. In the it has come in the question itself. The word prana, of course, is used for mukhya prana, because without breath there is nothing, sir. Without breath, apana will not work, and without breath, digestion will not, samana will not work. Without breath, vyana, the circulation will not work. Therefore, basically, the prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, in that the prana is the mukhya prana. Anyway. So, pranasya pranaha. So, all the shaktis, the capabilities you can consider by prana, and Ichha Shakti, the capacity to think and desire. Jnana Shakti means the capacity to know. Kriya Shakti, capacity to do, etc. are all covered here. And all of them are dependent upon one Vastu, which is free from all. And therefore it doesn't have any Vishesha. And therefore it is Nirvishesha Vastu, free from everything. And so nothing here in this body is left out, which is independent of that Vastu. Could you follow what I am saying? Nothing is left out. Even if it is left out, you have to take it as a upalakshana. Even though word vak is used here, and that prana, atma is basically a speech of the speech, or the word and cognition are there, and whose presence even the cognition takes place, on whose presence the pronunciation of word takes place. Anyway, what I am saying is, even the word vak is there, but I have already told you it represents all organs of action. And Shrotra, Chakshu, etc. represent all organs of perception. And Manaha also is included. Prana also is included. Then what is left over? Nothing is left over. And therefore whatever is here, including even the physical body, where I even put the sense, I sense. Well, nothing is separate, independent of me. So the gross body is basically mithya. Subtle body is mithya because they are dependent for the existence, they are dependent for sustenance or revelation, and therefore nothing is independent of the Vastu here. So I am the one basically independent. If you remember, I have 5-point program I have given you yesterday. The consciousness is independent of the body, which enlivens the body, etc., etc. I have told you that thing yesterday. So, and why is the one? Then why? What do you want to prove? Means I am not a limited entity, sir. If I am independent of the body imposes limitation on me. Actually, I am not. So, because of ignorance, I feel limited. I am not limited, basically. If I am independent of the body, what is my dimension? What is my dimension? What is my dimension? But Swamiji, this is all, this is all at an intellectual level, this is all right. But how will I experience that thing, Swamiji? Yes, sir, you are experiencing that you are free from dimension. That's what you are experiencing and that you want. That's what you want, but that's your nature. That is your nature, and that is why all the time, even in a waking state, you are struggling. And whenever in any moment of joy, then that sense of limitation gets dropped, you feel the same joy, the joy of the sleep. So you have the same joy, the joy of the sleep. In sleep, there is nothing other than you, and what is the dimension of you? That's your own experience that you are limitless. You cannot tell. Vedanta does not talk about a single thing which is beyond experience. Anything which is beyond experience and talked about Upanishad, you need not accept it. You need not accept it. And Veda also we don't oblige Veda that something Veda has told and therefore let me accept. Only proper analysis of our own experiences is done in the Veda. That's what it is. That's why we never accept any kind of a very exotic experiences, etc. We never accept it also. What we have in our experiences, it is enough to indicate the reality. What is the reality behind everything? And therefore, experience, in fact, every experience proves the Brahman. Every experience proves Brahman, because without Brahman consciousness, no experience is possible. Anybody in this world can prove, that there is experience possible without consciousness. Let's go there and do a prostration to that person. Impossible. Whether you imagine, whether you cognize anything, or even let me say the experience of non-existence also, totally non-existence. Swamiji, there is nothing in the world now. Suppose like that they say. Suppose on the world, there is a world war and everybody died and then nothing will be there. Now the absence is there. Who will prove the absence? There is nobody. But sir, you are right now proving that you are a conscious entity and proving the absence, total absence also. Without consciousness, you cannot prove. Absence also you cannot prove, presence also you cannot prove. Any experience proves consciousness. And whatever the elements are there in any experience, 3 elements generally we consider, and that is all are non-separate from the consciousness. The experiencer, the object of experience, and the very experience itself. All the 3 are non-separate from consciousness. Consciousness provides the existence to the experience. Consciousness reveals the experiencer. Consciousness provides the existence to the experiencer. And in the same way, other things also. And therefore, consciousness alone, that's how Pujya Swami said at one place, that the experience of so-called duality, they say where you are the experience prove the duality. Pujya Swamiji says experience prove non-duality. Experience does not prove duality. Experience prove non-duality. Because in experience all the 3 are there, and definitely, if you have this knowledge of Vedanta, you can tell the experience is non-separate from consciousness. Object of experience, is non-separate from the consciousness. And the very experience is a thought in the mind, is non-separate from the consciousness. And therefore, basically, experience proves Brahman, and which is non-dual. And in that one non-dual entity, all the 3 are basically superimposed. That Vastu is you, that Brahman is you, that has been revealed here. Okay, I think this is enough. And now we'll go ahead tomorrow regarding the result of this Jnanam, etc. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Pranam Swami.